everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What is up, you duck and duckettes? The ducks and duckettes. We're going to start including everybody. It is all in football on FTN with Chris Meaney. Make sure you're following him and his hockey advice, which you're running out of time. But, I mean, I saw what you already called for the playoffs with McKinnon and everything.
Oh, yeah, Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
that wasn't too, I can't get too excited about that. It's kind of obvious.
It's,
I think most people
I
had
know,
the
but it's still good calls. It's better than Igor Shesterkin is playing. That's definitely for sure. But code all in gets you 20% off over at FTN. And if you want to check out The Athletic and see what we're talking about today, which is way too early rankings debate, but we're talking about it because the draft was just a few weeks ago. Dive into what we think of right now. We're doing the twos this week. Last week we did the ones with Lauren. Meaney gets the twos. That means Jeff gets the threes plus. Ooh. So that'll be next week. So, but yeah, if you go to theathletic.com/besttv, all capitals, that gets you your first free month. And you can see all this stuff and you see all the goodness over there. Which, two things. One is my intro reminded me. Did you see Futurama is coming back again? Like, it's coming back again. It's next year, right?
Yeah.
2023?
Yeah. I think
it was.
so. That's what I saw yesterday. Actually, I saw that. Yeah, 2020.
And also, this is the second week in a row we're doing a Tuesday show because of some travel stuff with the girlfriend. We were at AEW in Baltimore last week. I got to see Chris Jericho live for the first time ever.
Nice.
Towards the end of his career. But also, I was so pissed off at the way they booked that match because the best thing about him is that they sing his song Judas, and the crowd sings the chorus once they cut the music, just like if you ever heard Sweet Caroline at Fenway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they do it every single time, even though he's back to being the heel. And the people they were facing attacked him before his song was to that point. I was like, no! Like, I was sitting there telling Nicole, I'm like, wait till you hear this. Wait till you hear this. Because, like, the entire crowd's going to sing along, and the crowd's going to keep going. And I said, just wait for it. It's really cool. And then they attacked it, and I was just like, well, I lied to you. But we had a lot of fun. We're in the second row. She loved it. Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, was legitimately, like, 5 feet from us because he came in through the crowd, and it got attacked, like, right there. It was a really fun time.
Nice. Well, it sucks that he got cut off on you. I mean, something that you were expecting to show her. I saw on your Instagram page, yeah, it looked like you had a nice little trip, nice little fun time together in Camden. I'd never been to Camden before.
Yes.
I've been to a Nationals game, and I wish I would have just carried on. I think the Halos went to Washington and then Baltimore right after. I wish I went to Camden. I'll go sometime. But Camden's, I hear right by the water there
10.
too. And also some great spots, like some restaurants, and I hear crab cakes are great there.
The crab cakes are good, although if you get the crab cake roll, it's $22, just so you know.
Okay. All right.
it's a little up there. The crab fries are good, but you're going to pay ballpark food for that. So, you know what? You just brought a sidebar real quick before we jump into these number 2 rankings, and Micheal Thomas, some news on him. But let me ask you this, because we're at the game, which, by the way, Byron Buxton hit one. That was the game where it was all like solo shots the entire game that the Orioles actually won. But Byron Buxton hit one so left center into the walkway. Like, it was amazing. But so there's this old lady wandering around. I think she was looking for friends because she was talking to like a lot of old other people and stuff like that. So I don't know if she it's one of those I've seen you a lot at other games. Anyway, I just want to see if you would have said something, Chris, especially because you're Canadian. So it's like you get the extra niceness level. So she's wandering around, and then finally she sits in front of Nicole and me into an empty seat. We're in the 8th row. She puts her jacket down, but she puts it on the back, folding over the back, and is like shoving it down into our knees, like in between our knees and the seat. And then she glares at us like our knees are in the wrong place. And so the first time, the first time, whatever, she got the jacket in place. Yeah. She stood up a little later and it fell. So she gets up again and does the same thing again. Doesn't even say, do you mind? Doesn't even say, excuse me. Doesn't just shoves it down there again, whatever. And I looked at Nicole, and Nicole's like, this woman is like she was getting like, would you? I didn't the second time. She did it the third time, and we actually moved over seats because there were empty seats because we were getting food anyway. But I was this close to saying something, but I was trying to be non-Jake. I was trying to be non-beast mode Jake.
I mean, I probably would have been nice about it, but like I would have just said, "Can you put your jacket somewhere else?" I don't know. Like, there's empty seats.
Like
Can you
the arm of the chair,
arm
which she was
right
on the
beside
aisle.
you? Yeah. It clearly wasn't working for her either, right? You think she would have tried a new technique with the
no,
the
because
jackets.
see, that's the thing. If I said something, I'd be like, "I'm sorry, are my knees in your way?" Like that's I wouldn't.
Yeah, okay, that would have been So you would kind of twisted the nerve a little bit, and you would have I don't know. I probably wouldn't have said that, but maybe I just move over. I don't know. Older people are kind of just in their ways too. Like they have, I don't know. They just have a certain way that they want to go about things, and they don't really think if they're ticking you off or not. It's kind of just they're in their own little element, in their own little world.
There they are. I was telling my other buddy about this. He goes, "You got to remember, we're getting into the older generation. Like the old people used to be so nice and sweet and candy carrying with them, and would never like, oh, thank you. Like you got to remember. He's like, you got to remember, we're getting to the next generation where he was like, was it a young old? And I was like, she was probably like in her 60s. He's like, we're starting to push up against the like, just get the hell out of my way. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want now.
Well, that's kind of how I'm getting there in life as well. Soon I'll be that older person ticking off the kids behind me.
Don't game with you.
Yeah, maybe not. I'll put my jacket over the
We'll see if it happens. I'm going to Nationals Mets on Wednesday night, so we'll see if it happens there. I might have to say something, but that's not what we're here to talk about. You're gonna have to. So let's start with. I was gonna do my whole thing where I said, "Where do you want to start, Chris? Do you want to start quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end?" And of course, pick something else.
I tell you, and then you.
Yes.
Something else, yeah.
But of course, we're going to start with wide receivers because there's a separate news blurb with a player that's in the twos for me. And that's Micheal Thomas. Just last week, Micheal Thomas, the quote was, or like the report was, he still has a few hurdles to cross into being ready for day one. And it wasn't even saying 100%. It just said a few hurdles. Last year was kind of, we joked about it on the show. I made the reference that said, like, I wasn't drafting him in a lot of places inside the top 20, 25 because I've had just this inkling of a feeling he might pull an AJ Green and just kind of check out if they weren't doing well, and then why do I need to come back? But this makes it sound like the injuries could have just been legit, and he's not 100%. It's a year off. He hasn't really had any time to, like, develop a rapport with Jameis Winston. Where are you? Because initially, these ranks came out before that news, and I had Micheal Thomas at wide receiver 21, baking in a little of that risk if we haven't seen him in a year. Would you move him down? Or are you putting weight in this report? Or what are you thinking as of today?
I'm thinking that, it's a mess. Like, I don't feel great about that report, to be honest with you, man. Like, I had him in the mid-20s. I might reference NFBC just for the people, the viewers, the listeners of where these guys are kind of going in drafts. And we're still early, but I just took a look at drafts happening so far in May. We've had a couple weeks here now. He's going as wide receiver 29. I think that's a pretty good discount. Like, to get him as your potential third wide receiver, upside to be a one. I mean, we know about his ceiling. It's tremendous. But also, we haven't seen him too much with Jameis Winston. Is this going to be the Jameis Winston of Tampa days now that Sean Payton is gone, where he is just chucking and force-feeding? I know they have Olave there as well, but if that's the case, then I'm pretty interested. But it's never going to be Drew Brees. It's never going to be like that. Like, it's just never. So I feel like I'm out. But if he was to fall outside of the 25 end of kind of that low end, I'd be in, but man, I'm right now. I'm out, Jake.
Well, so then let me ask you two-part questions here. One is, do you think there's a world where Chris Olave finishes in front of Micheal Thomas, even as a rookie?
Yeah, I do.
Even if Thomas plays 17 games?
No.
Okay.
I'll say. I mean, I want to say no. I could see it being really close, separated between maybe 20 half point, like in a half point setting, maybe 20 to 30 fantasy points. It's possible, but I would still say that Micheal Thomas, if he's playing a full season, if he's playing 14 games.
This is somebody who's finished the number one wide receiver in fantasy.
Yeah, so exactly. He's a stud.
The second part of it, so the reason I had him at 21 for the optimism is old Jameis Winston didn't fit Micheal Thomas's game very well. New Jameis Winston, and if you watched him last, like, New Jack City just came to mind when I said new Jameis Winston. I don't know why. Anyway, new Jameis Winston last year changed his game up a little bit and was making smarter plays. So I'm not that concerned fit-wise. Again, we like to see some. Now, if Micheal Thomas doesn't get on the field until the end of August and Olave has all this time to work with Winston and knowing how good Olave is, I guess I could see a world where even if he's ready week 1, Olave's in front of Thomas in my rankings. So
yeah,
you said after 25. So for wide receiver, let's start let's start with the 20s. So we're starting with the 2s in the 2s. So at 20, I have Terry McLaurin. At 21, Micheal Thomas, as you said. Amari Cooper, 22. Already got pushed back on that one. I'll explain real quick after this. 23, Judy. 24, Brandon Cooks. 25, Cortland Sutton. 26, Juju Smith-Schuster. And I could keep going on there, but would you take all those guys over Thomas now? Like, if you drafted today, would you take all of those guys over Micheal Thomas at this point?
I think so, yeah. Cooks is the one that gives me pause, and I know you were big on him last year, and it's probably going to be the exact same sort of volume. I think that, I don't know, part of me feels like I may just take the upside with Micheal Thomas over that one, but yeah, I do agree with all the other ones that you mentioned. Juju's, just because Juju's with the Chiefs, like he should be able to fall into close to 100 targets in that offense. Yeah.
How about those guys? This is now getting into Jeff's show, which we'll talk about. But Elijah Moore, 27, versus Micheal Thomas.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. That's close for me. It is close. I love Elijah Moore. I really do. I love him. He looks like a baller. He played great last year. You know, we saw strides towards the end of the season.
What does a baller look like to you?
A baller looks like a guy who can get end-around touchdowns, breakaway speed, nice little hands. But there's a lot of guys on that team now.
When somebody says baller, I think of NBA Street.
I actually think of the show Ballers.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
I've actually never seen the show. I just think of NBA Street and NBA Street 2 with like the rolling over and all the like the it was the new updated NBA Jam for everybody. All right, so
NBA Street was awesome. But I mean,
Rashad
there's
Bateman.
a lot going on there with the Jets, though, right? I'd take Bateman for sure over him. Yeah.
What if they add Jarvis Landry?
No. If they add Jarvis Landry, no. But as of right now,
still time.
yeah. Is that rumored?
Traylon Burks at 29.
Yeah, I'd take Burks too.
Okay. And we'll stop at 30.
There is there is some risk though taking just a rookie, but to be the one on a new team too is. It's going to be challenging for him. It's not going to be just, it's going to be a lot of volume, a lot of targets, but I don't know how efficient he's going to be. He still probably ends up with 1,000 yards for sure.
All right, about Darnell Mooney Tunes.
Yeah, I mean, the way that Chicago addressed their draft, they didn't really help out Fields too much.
Are they trying to make Fields fail? We'll say we'll get to quarterbacks. So let's just pivot on that. All right, I'm going to come back to Amari Cooper because I got pushed back on that one. And my response was this. And they're like, well, two things. The 3 years he was with, the 3 full seasons he was with the Cowboys, wide receiver 17, 18, sandwiched in between was a wide receiver 9. The one wide receiver 9 was the year that Dak went ham, basically. Yeah. So I'm saying he's just inside the top 20 for the other 2 years, but he's also going to, from one of the past happier offenses, actually more plays in general, to one of the most run-heavy teams with, yes, we assume Deshaun Watson, but I am baking a little bit in of like, what if it's not week 1? What if it's first 2 weeks? Like whatever it might be. So I could see Cooper finishing 15, but 22 feels about right. Like again, Micheal Thomas now, I would take Cooper before Thomas, but would you really take him in front of Terry McLaurin? Would you take him in front of DK Metcalf at 19?
No, I still think DK's not on my radar, but I still think I would go DK. I was interested. So you're getting the pushback. You're getting pushback from Amari Cooper fans that he should be higher. I think that's fair where you have him. I think it's also fair to expect that Deshaun Watson isn't going to be playing week 1. I mean, again, I'm just speculating, but
who knows?
I would be pretty surprised. You're right. We don't know, but I would be surprised. Run heavy team. He's going to have some highs and some lows. I don't think too much changes from him, but if Watson's a really good quarterback, but even those years that Amari would disappear, well, you just gave his finishes. Those are strong finishes, but there are also moments throughout those 3 seasons. Yeah, the roller coaster. I mean, highs and lows with Amari Cooper. He always seems to be playing through something as well. I think it's a fair ranking.
He's Aaron Jones of wide receivers. Aaron Jones is Amari Cooper of running backs. Yes, they're going to finish. Aaron Jones will finish as a 1. Amari Cooper will finish as a clear 2, fringed 1. But the thing is you're going to get 30 points and then 5. And then there'll be like some even games throughout there, but some touchdown reliance. All right, so DK Metcalf with Drew Lock. Number 18, another rookie checks in. The highest of the rookies, Drake London at 18. Am I sipping the sauce too much on Drake London?
No, I don't think so. I was curious here at FBC where London is going, and it's super, super early. Man, get out there and draft some high stakes now. Wide receiver 36. 22 was Cooper in the month of May here.
Oh,
no, you're not.
Boom.
You're. I guess you are drinking it, but I'd like for you to share a little bit of the drink I'm into, man. Volume, opportunity, absolutely. Bad football team, right? Gonna be playing from behind. No real run game to think of. Quarterback play is questionable, but
so for the people that want to poo-poo Marcus Mariota, 2016 or 17, when Delaney Walker was still being one of the top 10. No, Rashard Matthews was wide receiver 18 that year.
Oh yeah, Rashad, yeah. But Smith was the guy calling the plays, Arthur, right? So there's some familiarity there.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, and it might be Ritter at some point, which, as Emery argued, and said for everybody calling Kenny Pickett the safest quarterback in the draft, if you want the most consistent college career, it was actually Ritter because Pickett eclipsed his previous 4 years combined in his fifth senior year. So, yeah.
They're going to see what they have with him, Jake, this year. There's no question because they're in for a top pick next year, too. They got to see what you have in Ritter unless you're, you want to be in the quarterback market again next year.
So, number 17, Michael Pittman. Actually, you know what? I'll just run up through 13 so you can have these because I want to know if you would shift any around, if you would drop anybody significantly, if you would pull anybody up significantly. 17's Pittman. Real quick on the Cooper thing, and I left this nugget out of it, but I said basically 17 through 30, Darnell Mooney was the one I named. It's if you're not watching, you're just listening. I'm doing a juggling thing terribly because I can't juggle. But juggling. Like legitimately 1 to 2 touchdowns could make you finish 17 or 30. Like that. Yes. Like this is that group, and this is why, again, to hammer it home again, one more time, 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds because then you can just pick 2 of these guys later in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, and it's not going to matter because they're going to be so close. They're always so tightly grouped every single year, as you said, 20, 30 points maybe over the course of almost 20 rank spots. But anyway, so Pittman's at 17, DJ Morris 16. Jalen Waddle, 15. Chris Godwin, maybe not ready for week 1. I might have to drop him. And then T. Higgins at 13. How do you feel? Up, down, one you want to talk about? What are you looking at?
I was actually just kind of sidetracked with your fantasy points thing because I was just going to hammer home the point that you made was spot on. Just like looking at wide receiver 10 last year, 208 and a half point setting Mike Williams to wide receiver, let's just go 30 points. Marquise Brown, wide receiver 23. That's separated by 28
13,
fantasy
and
points.
then you're talking about wide receiver 10.
Yeah.
What if you did wide receiver 18?
To 10, it's separated by 15 points.
Oh, no, I was going to say like 30 points for that.
But, I mean, to your point, it's a touchdown or 2 that kind of swings the difference here between some of these guys.
So,
Godwin not...
a 30-point drop from Chris Godwin at wide receiver 16 last year gets you wide receiver 29, Adam Thielen.
Amazing.
There you go.
It is tight. It's all about picking the right one, though, right, as we're kind of walking through this process. Godwin is probably going to miss a little bit of time to start, but I'm willing to I'm willing to take him. I think he's still going to be a target of mine. There may be a little bit of risk involved, but I still think he's going to. I mean, geez, they bring in Russell Gage. I still think he's going to be able to eat up a lot of those targets, and I still think he's got a lot to offer. The upside is there. Pittman, I think what we saw from him last year, Jake, I think we can bank on it again. Maybe a slight improvement. I don't know, quarterback. I think Matt Ryan's a little bit better than Carson Wentz. I think he's more accurate.
Yeah.
I think they trust him to throw the football a little bit more. So I think Pittman is. I'm really Pittman's going to be a target of mine. I think he has top 15 upside.
So, and they added Alec Pierce, who's they need that compliment to him. Just another, but he's not Paris Campbell. They're completely different wide receivers. I think Pittman is the one, and I think you draw some coverage off of him. He's one of the ones that could benefit from that. Like, people play into those narratives, and they always make the arguments like, well, volume, well, coverage dropped off of him. Well, the coverage dropped off him means less targets, and he's going to go to the other. But like, you can spin it any way you want. I think this is one of the situations when you're using one of those arguments. Less attention for Pittman is the same as Terry McLaurin. They are 1Bs, in my opinion, in the fact that they are ones, but they're just not alpha ones. I don't want to say like they're beta ones, but 1B. Like, it's like, but you get my point. It's like they just need somebody at least to help them out a little bit. They can't be drawing double and triple coverage every single game succeeds just because they're not that kind of wide receiver. All right, so now I'm going to do it to you.
Okay.
We're going to alternate. We're going to alternate the fun because quarterback and tight end, running back and wide receiver, a lot more fun. So we're saving running back for third. So second, are we going quarterback or tight end?
Tight end.
All right, let's go tight end. Ha ha! See, there you go.
Got me.
So I did 13 through 30. We're not doing threes with Jeff. We're not doing threes with Jeff for quarterbacks or tight ends.
Enjoy that so much. Yeah, please, no, like give him that and lead off the show with it. Yeah.
Nothing. Yes, it's like we're not. So I'm gonna run down this entire list. I'll try to go slow so people don't have to rewind the podcast. By the way, Albert, we did answer already where Judy and Sutton was after I brought up Micheal Thomas. If you want to go back and listen or rewind the show, whatever you want to do. So here we go. Chris, you have the list in front of you, so I don't have to go too slow for you, but I will try. 13. Here we go. Tight ends. Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant, Irv Smith Jr., Cole Kmet, David Njoku, Albert Abujamra, Hunter Henry, Logan Thomas, Brevin Jordan, Tyler Higbee, Evan Ingram, Gerald Everett, Robert Tonyan, Austin Hooper, Hayden Hurst, Mo Alley Cox, Adam Trotman, and CJ Secret, as Pat would say, of the Uzma at 30. You can see why I went all the way down to 30. So you can see why I went down to 30. You can see why I was like, when I got to 24, I'm like, what's the point of even trying to break down the threes? So let's start at the top. Anybody too high for you? Anybody on this, let's even just say from 13 to 20, somebody that's too high / basically, I'm not going to draft them, Chris Meaney.
Probably
I thought you were about to eat a Twizzler.
Yeah, it is right. I probably should keep pens in my mouth. I don't think I'll draft Gesicki or Fant. Is the Irv Smith breakout actually going to happen? They didn't really do much in terms of wide receivers, so I think I'm fine with Irv. I really like Cole Kmet. Njoku, I'm going to like.
Do you know how many touchdowns Cole Kmet had last year?
Zero touchdowns. He was. I looked into this. He still finished his tight end 12, and I tweeted it out. I don't have all the numbers. I mean, you guys could look it up. But in terms of just yards among tight ends, here it is. He was 12th among tight ends at 600 yards. From a fantasy point standpoint, he was top 12. So he's a tight end one basically without, or I guess this is half point. My bad.
You're trying to confuse everybody?
I am trying to. Anyways, his numbers are fine. Here it is. His targets, his catches, and his yards. That's all that really matters. His targets, his catches, and his yards are all top 12. Right. And he still finishes without any touchdowns. He still finishes as a decent tight end from a fantasy standpoint. He's going to score some touchdowns this year. Come on, he is, right? I mean, they didn't do anything. They got Fields the whole year. Like, he's going to see some positive regression or forward, I would say, with Cole Kmet. I'm into him. I think he's having slightly higher. Everybody else, I mean, what are we talking about? Hunter Henry just like touchdowns, right? That was all his season was last year, was just getting a touchdown per game on a couple of targets. Njoku, I guess, is going to have, more of the tight end film room with the Hooper gone. Still Cleveland.
And they drafted David Bell.
Yeah, who I do like. So, I mean,
at least most of it will be going
Big
Njoku's route.
Didn't they draft a guy too? And a little bit later on. So there's another guy, I think. I don't know.
The one I like and is way above early consensus. Let me spin it this way for you, Chris. Why aren't people with me on Brevin Jordan? How about that? That's how I ask you the question.
They should be. If there's a guy we're taking a shot on, Who are we taking a shot on here? Let's go for opportunity, and he definitely has opportunity. In this offense, we're looking for the number 2. That's why I mentioned Cooks earlier. Like Cooks is going to get that volume. He's going to get that opportunity, but they need somebody else here to step up. Why don't you have him a little bit higher?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I kind of want to put him
fine.
higher. Logan Thomas, if healthy, is kind of there. I could see Brevin Jordan over even Hunter Henry and even over Albert O. Given who the Broncos drafted another tight end.
That's what I mean.
And again,
like they draft another guy. There's a lot of guys there.
And let's be realistic about that too. So let's go back to Russell Wilson is now there. If Drew Lock already wasn't getting Noah Fant that involved, and now Albert O steps in, and what do we know about Russell Wilson even when he was at Seattle? The third wide receiver / tight end.
Yeah.
Wasn't even used that much. And granted, he's got a better 3 than he's ever had with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
But unless you want to talk about like the Paul Richardson days, but I'd still probably take Tim Patrick. Like, what's even going to be left over after you go Sutton, Judy, Patrick? What's left for the tight end position? So if I'm going upside, that's Brevin Jordan's my young tight end, and everybody's always too early on them, and then it's like, they forgot that he's in that mold of a nice receiving tight end. I'm going to have a lot of Brevin Jordan. Is there any hope? Let me go further down. Is there any hope that Evan Ingram gets anywhere close to his rookie season with Jacksonville?
No.
It's
just no way. That was a pretty good rookie season too. That was a really good rookie season. So, and there's no OBJ. Like he suffered that injury, and he was basically the one there. They just have a lot of different pieces. But I guess, the offense is going to be different with Doug Peterson. I know I've already heard people say, well, Doug Peterson in Philly and the tight ends and Carson Wentz. I think that was just more so a Carson Wentz thing, and they had 2 really good tight ends and no good wide receivers. It was just kind of Zach Ertz, who he liked a lot. And then Dallas Goedert, even Brent Selleck sometimes was a guy that finished with more targets than some of the wide receivers on the team. Yeah. So I don't think that offense with Peterson and Jacksonville is going to be tight end heavy, but it was last year, if you remember, right? I know you do. We were talking about some tight ends in that offense, but Christian Kirk, I mean, Laviska's the 4th there. Yeah. They got a lot of options there in that offense. Treadwell is still in the team. I don't know if he's going to have the same rapport that he did. Yeah, they brought him back. So I don't think so. I feel like he's going to be a DFS guy, a cheap punt, tight end play, maybe a red zone target. But we'll see what kind of rapport that Trevor Lawrence has with him. But
here's a random question.
Your Jordan call, I'm coming around on it. My bad. But I'm kind of coming around on the Jordan one. It's just like why not, right? It's going to be your last pick of the draft if it doesn't work out. You can grab any of these guys and kind of roll the dice with the tight end position.
The one other one I'll mention in here is Austin Hooper by himself. Now that you're talking about the fact that in his situation, look, I mean, what's the number 2 there? It could be Austin Hooper. Now, I hate the number 3 there. I will never have a number 3 with the Titans ever. But what is Robert Woods, Traylon Burks, and then Hooper? You tell me that Hooper can't be the number 2 most valuable passing option? I could see it. You're also put out like what Nick Westbrook-Akina is their 3, right? Yeah. So let me go back real quick. Here's my random question for you. Does anyone in Jacksonville finish with 1,000 receiving yards?
No.
And here's the thing. I could see Trevor Lawrence throwing for a decent chunk over like 42, 43, 4,400 yards, but Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, Christian Kirk, you mentioned Treadwell, Chenault, Jamal Agnew's back. They draft. Or they think
catching balls out of the backfield too. Like he gets
undrafted free agent Kevin Austin from Notre Dame. Yeah, ETN out of the backfield. You add Snoop Connor, pass catching option out of the backfield as well, depending on what they do with ETN and his health. So, yeah, I would take the under.
Who's most likely to do it? Is it Marv if he could just stay healthy? I mean, I don't know. At this point of his
days
career,
are done. I would almost think it's like Christian Kirk. We spent all this money. Let's force the ball to him over and over and over again and get him 130 targets.
He could, if he can get that, then he can blow the top off too. He's got some speed. Are they going to use him the same way? Because Arizona, I feel like they didn't know what to do with him. Like sometimes he's in the slot, and then they draft Rondale Moore. And it's like, okay, now we have these 2 guys in the slot. We want Kirk on the outside. I felt like he had a lot of bad drops last year too. So, I mean, I guess it could be him just on the age thing and the money that they spent. Maybe they are thinking that. Holy crap, we got to get this guy the ball. Like he's the 10th highest paid wide receiver.
That contract is still like just so.
It was one of the most shocking things that happened in the offseason. There are a lot of shocking things that happened.
Yes, that is true. Trade bonanza, by the way. All right, so let's talk running backs. Here we go. We're going to go. Do you want to go top to bottom or bottom to top?
Top to bottom.
All right, bottom to top we go.
Yeah.
So, speaking of,
here?
I was going bottom to top no matter what. I was actually no matter what because 26. Speaking of Travis Etienne, that's why. So there you go. 26 is Etienne. 25 is Damian Harris. 24, Kenneth Walker. 23, J.K. Dobbins. 22, Zeke. 21, Montgomery. 20, Josh Jacobs. 19, rookie Breece Hall. Another one in there. 18, Aaron Jones. Cam Akers at 17. 16, Elijah Mitchell. 15, Antonio Gibson. 14, James Conner, which I just saw somebody trade a 107 pick for James Conner in Dynasty, and I almost fell into my chair. Wow. And then 13, Javonte Williams, who Melvin Gordon's back. So let's start with Javonte Williams. I originally had Javonte Williams at 5 before he came back.
No doubt.
13, too high, too low, just about right. Kind of like the Bears and the porridge and whatever the hell that girl's name is that I can't think. Why can't I think? Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It's like too high, too low, or just right. Because I do think Javonte gets more of the share this year.
Yeah.
But I still can't ignore what Melvin Gordon still is.
Yeah, he's a pain. He's a pain in the ass. And he actually played pretty good last year, so he deserves touches.
Yes.
And they brought him back. Obviously, they feel like, he played well and he's going to be part of the offense. Maybe it's a 60-40 this year because it did seem like a pretty much dead-on split with most times Melvin Gordon getting the benefit of the doubt. Then towards the end of the year, we did see Williams.
So then let me ask you it this way. Is there anybody behind Javonte Williams you would take over him?
No, like on the list of players that you just mentioned, no.
Yeah.
I
of the
would
twos
not.
plus.
No. Cam Akers is close to me. I think it's close, but no. All these other guys are all the rest of them are in split backfields. I guess Elijah Mitchell. I would just rather take Javonte Williams and Elijah Mitchell. I don't want. I'm taking upside.
Well,
outside in talent and skill.
Here's the problem. Elijah Mitchell's probably wrong. We should just put whichever running back is leading the backfield in week 3.
Exactly.
And then it's from there on out for the rest of the season. It could be the resurgence of Trey Sermon. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, it certainly could. And they also drafted another guy this year, so they're just going to rotate through a bunch of backs there. But Javonte Williams, I think maybe you could bump him a little higher.
You're going to put the money on Game of Thrones?
Why would I do?
Tyrion Davis Price.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
His first name's Tyrion.
Yeah.
So
very nice, very nice, nice touch.
Or wait, the Hand of the King, and then no, he's actually the king at the end. So spoiler alert, anybody Game of Thrones, if you took all this time.
10 years later. Oh yeah, and I took time. I remember when you and Joe Pisapia and I were doing a show together. Shout out on Target. I would leave the last 10 minutes of the show. I would talk for you guys to have the conversation with the listeners, and you guys would kind of go back and forth about Game of Thrones, and then you tell me when
I gotta tell you, I became more of a fan of Game of Thrones once they started going their own direction and the books were done, because whatever reason, I don't know how or why it coincided this way, but once they started going off of like what he told them, and he hasn't finished writing yet, they stopped having a lot of dicks in the background. And I'm like, that's great. I didn't need all these naked dudes in the background of every scene. Like, I just don't why. Like, that doesn't add anything. Naked women either. Like, the nakedness was just too much. Like, I don't need that much nakedness in a show.
Fair share of nakedness in Game of Thrones. Yeah, ton of nakedness. No.
All right. James Conner at 14.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
Okay. All
I
right.
think Williams should be slightly like. Are we? I don't know. So you got Fournette ahead of him, Chubb, I guess. Kamara's fine, Swift.
I'll give you the guys right in front of him. Oh, you're looking? You're looking?
I mean, I'm just looking. You got Saquon ahead of him?
I do.
You got Saquon ahead of Javonte? Yeah,
here's my argument for Sacrum Barkley. You either want him or you don't. Here's the thing. Nobody asks me and says, oh, Christian McCaffrey at number 2. Have you not watched the past 2 years? But people say that about Barkley.
He's the best.
When you watch Christian McCaffrey and Barkley took a few weeks, but let me remind everybody, at the end of September, especially that final game against the Cowboys, before it happened, the week before that, everybody, go back and look. Everybody's like, oh my God, Barkley is about back. We're seeing Barkley again, and he looked good. and then that Cowboys game, and it was a freak injury. The play was over. He steps backwards into the dude's leg and rolls his ankle. And then he was toast after that. When he came back, he wasn't 100%. Dan Duggan for the Athletics said he wasn't hitting that second gear like he was before the injury. So that'll be said. Again, you don't have to take Barkley.
Right.
But assuming what we saw at the end of September, if Barkley is 100% and he plays 15 games, tell me how he doesn't finish as an RB1. And that's my question.
Yeah.
And you don't have to take him.
No. And you got a better offensive line there too. There's that.
Better offensive line.
Better offensive line. Better play calling. There's no question. Better play calling. And the backfield is his. Yeah, and we'll see what happens with Alvin Kamara too. But if you told me Alvin Kamara was going to miss 4 games,
that worried me. And they didn't draft anybody.
Nobody.
They signed Matt Breida.
I think
and
they're going to run him into the ground if they can. But yeah, I think it's fine.
Would you go? So you mentioned Fournette. Would you go Fournette or Williams? Fournette. The fact is, they only drafted Rachaad White.
Yeah,
clear backup.
Just a backup. I think I would go with Lenny there. Definitely in a full point setting as well. This guy's going to catch a lot of passes again this year.
Okay, so Breece Hall. I want to talk about the rookies real quick. Breece Hall, I have at 19. Yeah. I think we're looking at not what a lot of people are hoping. The Broncos from last year. The Browns, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both finishing as RB1s, RB2s in top 20. I think we're looking at, and this is the comparison I keep making, is Arizona. I think it's James Conner and Chase Edmonds. And I think that's, unfortunately, poor one out for Michael Carter. Pains me to do so, but he is now Chase Edmonds. He is now RB 33, 36, 35. Going to be frustrating, but the consistent one is Breece Hall at 19. Could see him finishing higher, but I think that's a fair spot for him because Aaron Jones is in a similar situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair spot to have him.
Yeah, I think so too. That's actually where I have him as well, to be honest with you. The only guy that I have a little bit higher is Akers, and we can have a conversation about him, a little bit later. But the Breece Hall thing, he's gonna be the lead. He's gonna get the first and second down work. You might see Michael Carter get, I don't know, anywhere from 5. Maybe he can get 5 carries. And this team's gonna run that much, but Hall's still going to get some work out of the on third down as well. Like he's still going to catch some passes.
Yeah, he's going to get a bit himself.
Work. Yeah, it's a good comparison. It's the two. I could even see like a Saints thing. Maybe not this year, but if this is still the duo next year in year 2, like an Ingram Kamara type deal. With some upside, I think for Carter, if he can get 5 targets, maybe that's asking too much. But if on average, if this guy can catch about 3 passes a game, he can still have flex appeal. Certainly in a PPR setting, but this is a good spot here for Breece Hall, and it's actually just a really sour landing spot in general. Like, because you and I both like Carter, and kind of wanted to see Breece Hall go somewhere where he can be a true 3-down back. If that's the case, then really pour one out for Carter.
Definitely a poor job. So, all right, let's talk about the other one, Kenneth Walker. Now, the initial early reports are, he might get third down work, and he's going to have to work. I have to tell you, when we talk about, you said, what are you guys doing? I don't believe your BS for 1 second, Pete Carroll. You don't draft a running back at 209. That's the Kenneth Walker talent to he might be our third down back. Chris Carson's probably unlikely to make the roster at this point. It's going to be Kenneth Walker and Rashad Penny. And what is this again, Chris? This is James Conner and Chase Edmonds, but even more pronounced because Kenneth Walker, if you watched him, yes, they didn't throw to him a lot, but the times they did, pretty ugly sometimes. Pretty ugly. I do think he can be better. I don't think he's trash in the passing game, but I think you just have such a clear role situation here with Walker and Penny that it's now Connor and Edmonds, and Penny could get a couple touches in the running game, and Walker can get a few passing down snaps, but this is basically, I think, like a 65-35. And the only reason Walker's here and not higher is because something you and I have talked about, and we reference the late Mike Tagliere a lot of times where he wrote that article about how many times an RB1 ends up on a bottom 5 offense. I think we're all in agreement this is probably going to be a bottom 5 offense, and that's the only reason I don't even have Kenneth Walker higher.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I'm lockstep with you in all of it. I feel like I did take him in a dynasty league, and I was trying to think long term. I feel like it could be completely his backfield, maybe at some point this season or next year for sure. It's going to be an awful offense. The offensive line is not great. It's a brutal quarterback, right? Whoever they roll out there. I mean, Locke, it's going to be tough, for them to move the ball, I think. But ultimately, this team does want to run the football, right? I mean, they wanted to run the football with Russell Wilson. What makes you think they're not going to want to run the football with Drew Lock, right? I mean, things are just not going to change. That's what they want to do. That's their game plan. They're going to try to slow the pace down in a lot of games and run the rock with him and Penny. So I think it could be Penny's backfield to start. But this is another guy that he only really showed up for the first time in his career last year towards the end of the season. He won People Fantasy Football Championships. Great stretch. He was awesome. He was fantastic. He looked so good. He looked so darn good. But there's a lot of questions when it comes to him and handling a full workload. I do believe Chris Carson is gone as well. I think that was kind of writing on the wall. I think it's fair where you have him, and I honestly think he could be one of those guys, Jake. Maybe he's not super efficient, but if we're seeing him touch the ball 17 plus times, man, he's going to finish higher than RB24. I don't care about really the efficiency all that much. I do, but it's volume and touches, which is key. I think he's going to get him.
Okay, so then before we get the quarterbacks and finish out the show, you brought up Cam Akers like 17 times. So do you want to real quick?
What's your beef?
do you want to real quick? Do you want to? Yeah, I said 17 because that's where he is. Do you want to make your little case that Akers should be higher? Here's my concern. It's McVay. He uses them all. Darrell Henderson's still around. Darrell Henderson's healthy. And as much as you know how much I love, go back and look at my draft profile of Cam Akers. I love some Cam Akers. Love him. However, and he came back from Achilles. First of all, the dude deserves, put him in the Hall of Fame for that. You came back in an ungodly amount of time to just be running. But he didn't even get 3 yards per carry when he came back. Now, of course, it's an entire offseason. It's going to be it's going to be 8 months since that happened. Well, 7. Yeah. But I understand that. I'm just saying the split with Darrell Henderson, that's a little bit of my concern. Pass happy with Matthew Stafford, the touches and in the passing game, I think they still might lean a little bit more. And that's my concerns. And I can see him finishing higher, especially, what if he pulls a Leonard Fournette and it's just 1,100 yards, but he scores 14 times.
Yeah,
so
that's
where
possible.
are you? So is that where you're thinking? Are you thinking scoring opportunity, or why do you have Akers higher?
Yeah, and again, we are splitting hairs here. You brought up some really good points. I wanted to hear your thoughts on why you had him where you have him. And yeah, I just think Henderson is, I don't know. I'm just not worried about him. I think he's going to be like a change of pace guy, catches a couple passes. I know it's McVay, but I think he learned towards the end of 2 years ago what he had there. And yeah, he didn't look all that fantastic in the playoffs, but he did have some tougher opponents. Like Bucks was obviously one of them. He struggled to run between the tackles there, but I think there's just upside in this offense. Maybe that's why, right? I do believe he's going to get the goal line work. I do believe he's going to catch a couple passes. He was a guy that was catching passes for them last year as well. I don't think he's going to be. It's a good comparison actually. Leonard Fournette linked to a good offense, goal line work.
Yeah,
could get double-digit touchdowns. I don't think he'll catch 50 plus balls like him, but I think he can catch 30. But we'll see. I think I'd rather just take him over. You feeding Barkley over there. I think I'd rather him than Antonio Gibson. Actually, I'm pretty confident that I'd rather him than Antonio Gibson. But
Antonio Gibson, I keep going back and forth on. I can see the Brian Robinson draft pick worries. I think obviously this just spells the end for Jarrett Patterson, but I just think this tells you, again, they brought back McKissick after the Bills originally were trying to sign him. No matter, this is one of those situations where it's like, we know how much you want it, but it doesn't matter because the team doesn't want it. The team does not want Gibson 20-plus touches a game. He did have some games like that, but that's not what they want.
I know. And you wonder if he lost his goal line work there, potentially.
With
the Robinson pickup.
So 5 minutes, quarterbacks, we don't need to spend a ton of time because here's the first question. Before I even rattle through all these, Chris, once you get to QB 14, because 13 is kind of in his own little world potentially. 14 through 28. This is just like pick your favorite. And pick your favorite who you think could finish top 5. If you think it's Trey Lance, take him. If you think it's Justin Fields, take him. If you think it's Daniel freaking Jones, take him. Yeah. But don't draft these quarterbacks to say, I'm getting the 15th best quarterback.
Right, yeah. Again, you were doing some juggling earlier in the show. Right? You could do that here at the quarterback position. It really is all about preference. I think the first 4 you have definitely could be. Well, let's talk about the top 5. One. They could be top 10. Yeah.
Well, so 13 has been, and so let's actually say this. Dak Prescott is who I have at 13, and it feels low. Sorry, Barkley, I just dropped my mouse and freaked her out. So he's at 13, but this is no Amari Cooper. We saw last year how he looked with Cooper hurt for time, Lamb hurt for time, Gallup hurt for time. His wide receiver core right now is Lamb, Gallup, questionable week 1. How healthy is he? They did make a nice draft pick, which was kind of, it feels like it's Gallup part 2. And he still has Dalton Schultz. But this is a team that's moving more towards the run. And one of the things Dak Prescott is not doing much of himself anymore is running. He used to be like a locked-in 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns. And he's not anymore. So that's why I'm at 13. I know you're looking at my top 12. Is there anybody you would jump Dak with? No. See?
No yeah, nobody. I'm with you again. There's no one. Rodgers? You know what I mean? I don't know how much.
I know
Rodgers
he lost Adams, but he's like Cooper Kupp last year.
Efficient.
He finished 2 or 3, depending on your league. You have to drop off like 8 touchdowns to get him outside of the top 10. Let alone, and I know he lost Adams, but like just you have to realize that. But again, some other quarterbacks might jump. So okay, if you're waiting for this group, Carr 14, Lawrence 15. I love some Lawrence this year. Lance, Fields, Tagovailoa, Tannehill, Cousins, Ryan, Jones, and all down from the list. Is there one in the? Is it Trey Lance? Is that your boy? You're going back to your boy this year?
Oh man, I don't know. I think if I'm drafting last, I feel this is what I did in most of my drafts, and clearly it didn't work out, but it didn't matter at that point. I mean, it was my last pick, right? I didn't draft a defense. I'll figure it out, closer to week 1. I probably would take some shots on him again towards the end. I think we'll have maybe more clarity, but I don't know. Like, is Jimmy G just could be the guy again there? I mean, they didn't ship him off. The injury. So if he's there on the roster come week 1 and he's healthy, then he's probably the guy. I mean, they brought him he lost to the Rams, the eventual Super Bowl champ. So I think eventually they want to go Lance, but Carr, I would take a shot on Carr with my last pick. Even if I didn't have Adams or not, I still think there's a lot. Right? Yeah, I think he's a really underrated real life quarterback. I think he's always been accurate. You got a guy now in Devontae Adams.
He's new Andy Dalton.
Sure, yeah, and he's surrounded.
Andy Dalton, Philip Rivers. It's those guys. And he's like that fringe QB1.
Dude. Yeah, I think Waller could actually. I think we could get another crazy shakeup where Waller is traded away from the Raiders before the season started. But if not, whatever. Waller, Renfro, Adams, and then say what you want about Jacobs, but he's a guy that can catch balls out of the backfield. Kenyon Drake. Derek Carr is basically finished in around this range, anyways.
Every single year.
Lack of weapons, and he was a top 10 guy and got MVP votes when he had Cooper and when he had Crabtree. So he's a guy I would definitely take a shot on. And I would take a shot on Lawrence and maybe Tua.
No Justin Fields?
Yeah, but not much. I'm interested in the other ones.
I know. I was so ready to draft Justin Fields in the Jalen Hurts comparison of like run for 800 yards. I just need you to throw for 3,200 and 20 touchdowns. He might not get that.
So bummed the way that I'm not even a Bears fan, but you have to be bummed the way that draft went. What they got was a punt returner that spent 6 years in college. Is like 26 or something.
He's 25 already.
How much success? I don't want to put the kid down, but I mean that is not a good start. It's
real quick before we get out of here, I tweeted this on May 2nd, Chris. Velus Jones is older than DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Hollywood Brown, and he's only 1 month younger than DJ Moore.
I mean, and he didn't dominate playing against kids, right? He's a guy that kind of hung around for quite a bit.
He was literally an adult playing against kids.
He was literally an adult player playing with children, and he didn't stand out all that often. So let's see what they can do with him in that offense. I don't think they helped out Justin Fields too much. I suppose they did by firing, Nagy and getting some new blood in there. But man, if Mooney goes down, I'm sure Cole Kmet will get a couple touchdowns.
Well, that's why we're showing the Cole Kmet. So, yeah. I'm Lawrence. I wanted to be on the fields, but Lawrence, I like Carr in this range, too. If I'm really digging deep here, I'd have to just say, it has nothing to do with the Giants because I don't want him to be the future quarterback. People should know that by now. But there was a reason people were drafting Daniel Jones as a fringe quarterback 2 years ago. Yeah. And if Dable can get something out of him, it's the fact that he runs, too, and that's why.
I think he's a really strong QB2. Really strong QB.
I think he's intriguing, especially because you're going to get him in the 20s. Nobody wants Daniel Jones.
Exactly.
I tell you what, Fox wants Tom Brady. Congratulations, Tom Brady, for your future 10-year, $375 million contract to do a few games a year. Congratulations, buddy.
Goodness. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Can he buy Canada?
400 million.
Can you just buy your country?
Yeah, I mean, I by all means he wants to, sure. I see him working out with Jalen Hurts in the offseason. Man, I like that. That.
It's going to be United States and then Brady land is above us on maps.
Unbelievable. Yeah, to hang out 17. I mean, good for him. He's going to stick in football. I like Brady, man. I've really come around on him over the past couple of seasons.
He's entertaining during the golf matches, too. I think he's going to be good on
really
TV.
Entertaining. I love the Manny cast. I think that's great. I love seeing former athletes. I like Romo too. I know he's sometimes over the top. These guys explain it really well, man. They're fresh out of the game. They know a lot of the players. I think Brady's going to be fantastic as a color guy.
Sorry, Game Plus, for having to edit this because we're over. You're probably chopping all this anyway. But I was going to say, I actually no, not you. I sidebarred on this to finish things out. I actually liked A-Rod more on Sunday Night Baseball than I do on that A-Rod cast. I like them more on the other cast than I do on this full on. Broadcast.
And I actually really enjoyed him when he was on the Manning cast too. I mean, he was sipping a little bit of whiskey.
Oh, he was doing that,
scotch, and he was just being.
Oh no, not Aaron Rodgers, Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, A-Rod. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
You liked A-Rod on the Sunday crew more.
I
than
liked Alex
just
Rodriguez on the Sunday crew with Jessica Martinez
player.
and all the rest. Yeah, well, So I liked him more in that because it was like when he jumped in, it was pieces of Alex Rodriguez. It wasn't entire Alex Rodriguez. Like, I need dosage. I don't need entire.
Yeah, he was good, and he's another guy that had some interesting stories too. That I mean, I like those former athletes when they're there, but A-Rod was never a guy that I cared for, but I didn't mind him on that broadcast.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Foxy behind the scenes. Chris Meaney at Chris Meaney over at FTN. Code all in gets you 20% off. TheAthletic.com/BetsTV gets your first free month. We'll be back to Wednesdays next week. We're back to regular schedule. The girlfriend trips are temporarily over for a little while. So until we go to Puerto Rico in the end of June, but I don't think that overlaps Wednesday. But yeah, I am getting my vacation in for the first time in my life, Chris. This is good times.
You deserve it, dude. It's been a long time coming, I'd say, and then you'll be grind mode again come football.
I know that's why I'm getting it on right now. Because as soon as August hits, forget it, can't go anywhere. But hopefully you don't go anywhere. We'll see you guys next week.